What up, boys? My name is Troy. Welcome to Facility D20. So it's no surprise that GW has been cracking down on the 3D printing community. I mean, they don't even want like custom guns or shoulder pads anymore at their events. But is there some 3D printing that Games Workshop is going to be okay with? I've got an idea to design a pretty cool little bunker, so I want to take you guys in, take you through the process, show you what the finished product looks like, and then let's see if you think GW would be okay with this type of thing in their store or not. Let me know in the comments. So this was one of the first things I ever did when I was learning how to make Blender. It was this little fort. So I basically made some basic shapes, but it's time to revisit this project and kind of make it a little better. So here I'm adding a additional shape, which was a cube, and I'm just scaling it around in X, Y, and Z dimensions so I can kind of make an armored front plate here. Here I'm just scaling down one of the faces to chamfer the edges. Then I'm going to go ahead and insert some more faces, extrude them outwards, scale them down again to create this like armored piece here. Then it was just a matter of duplicating it, scale it in the X, Y, and Z again to kind of make it smaller to fit the sides here. I manipulated it in place and had a look at it. You can see it's a bit too big, so I had to scale it in the Z. I did this with my number pad, and I went back and I scaled the front piece as well. Now, coming from an AutoCAD background, I find Blender a little difficult because I'm so used to doing everything in dimensions, where Blender's a lot more free-flowing. While you can use dimensions, it just don't seem to work as quickly or as well. So here I just duplicated this piece, brought it over, put it on the back side. Then for the upper part, you can see here I'm just inserting faces, and as you get better at this, you can do this pretty quickly. Then I grabbed those faces, extruded them. I'm extruding all of these with a number command, so they're all at the same, and I'm scaling them all at like 80% with a number command, so they're all at the same. And this creates this like chamfered looking pieces here. So I was pretty happy with that, and this is what it looks like when it's done. So guys, if you're interested in this STL, I want to say that I got a Patreon account that I started where you can check out this STL along with a bunch of other STLs that I got. And I do a lot of fun stuff over there, like exclusive videos, posts, and shadows. So check it out if you get the chance. Next thing I do is slice this thing up. This first piece took about 15 hours and cost about $5.59. The second print here was about 6 hours and 41 minutes and only ran me about $3.28. And finally the third one with all the pieces here, this was a little over 3 hours and only cost me about $1.05. Threw them in the printer and hit print. Guys, if you're liking this video, smash the like button. It really helps little channels like this, and I super appreciate it. And just like that, those prints were finished. Hey, so I got a few mistakes in my print here. Some of them are slicer errors and some of them are drafting errors. One of the weird thing here is that you can see the armor plates on the front, but on the back they didn't print, and that's because I'm pretty sure that I reversed my normals. And so what I'm going to do really is I'm going to go in and just glue this on. Hopefully that's going to fix the problem. Also, I definitely should have had more exterior layers. I only done a couple, and you can kind of see some cross-hatching pattern from the infill because of it. And also I got a bit of under extrusion here. So I think it's okay because I'm just going to paint it up so it kind of looks like battle damage. But I am going to take some of this plaster tape and I'm going to go in, I'm going to add myself some pathways, and then we're going to go get this thing primed up in the front part of the facility. Removing these supports was really satisfying. They just pop right out of there. It only took one face not to print, and this armor piece didn't come out properly. But luckily enough, the supports was there and I managed to save it somehow, so I was happy enough with that, so I just glued it right on. Then I installed the air conditioner, because even in the grimdark future, man, nobody wants to be in a hot ass room. Little vent on the inside. Now my door and my hinge works, but it doesn't work the best, so I'm gonna have to revisit that design. Decided to use some Gorilla Glue to put the window trim on there so it would fit nice and snugly. And then the plaster tape to make these walkways, I feel like this really set it off. I could probably do this in Blender, but I wasn't quite good enough to figure out how to do it. So I decided to add some old school crafting to this build. Little hatch. And then some water and Elmer's white glue, and I just pretty much painted the whole thing down so it would stick nice and tight to the plastic. Okay, time to get her done up like a stick of gum. First we're going to spray her with some dark black base coat, and then we're going to hit her with some of this hammered bronze textured paint to kind of get rid of some of those print lines before we take it back in and paint it up. This paint covered really nicely. Made sure to get every little nook and cranny. This one did too, and it went on super heavy. You can see it running down shore. But it wasn't the end of the world. I wouldn't use this on minis. I got my airbrush and some Vallejo metal color silver and started to add some pre-shading. Here I was just trying to hit all the high points and the armor bits here, anywhere the light would hit. I didn't have to do a good clean job here because this was all just going to be pre-shading anyway. The nice thing about this paint is that it's formulated to use with an airbrush, and you could just drop it straight in your airbrush and shoot it out. Not a lot of paints you can do that with, but this one you can. Now that I got the pre-shading done, I'm going to paint up like this little piece of terrain here that I made from a failed 3D print. This was actually supposed to be a plasma pistol, but I kind of messed up and I turned it into this. But anyway, I'm going to make like a snow themed table, so I'm going to carry on these blues and grays. Like always, I use Windex to thin my paints down, and I just gave this one really light coat over this entire build. Once it was dry, I went in with a second light coat to let those pre-shades and highlights bleed through, and I just covered this whole thing one more time. Once that was done, I went in with some Vallejo Game Color Chainmail Silver, and I just picked out details like the window trims and the AC unit. Made sure to get the fan blades too. Peeled off the masking tape to reveal the floor underneath and gave that a quick dry brush. Then I went in with my homemade wash, and this is a super watered down black acrylic paint using water and Windex. Now I didn't add Mod Podge with this because I want this one to be super watery. It looks brutal at first, but when it dries up it's pretty subtle. Once that was dry, I went back in with the silver and just gave a really light dry brushing of this whole thing, just to make it look a little more old and worn. First off, I want to thank all my new subscribers. You guys are rock stars. If you're watching this video and you're liking it, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I cannot wait to talk to you guys in the comments, and I'm really excited about this channel's future. So once that was done, I took some silver and just spackled it on to make sort of like paint chips. Wasn't too concerned about this because we're going to use some secret weapon rust pigments. And I went in and I just sort of made this whole thing look rusty. And the way you do this, there's a couple of ways, but on big surfaces I like to apply it with a brush, just put it on dry. Do this in two coats. First I went with the red, then I used some alcohol on another brush to seal it all in place. Then I went in with the orange. When it dried up, and put it on in the same fashion. Again, I used the alcohol to seal it all in place. And in here, I decided to use a spray bottle of alcohol, so it's just a lot faster to use my brush. Once that was done, it was time to hit it with some matte varnish. Well, they're done. This is just way too shiny. I'm going to hit this with some Vallejo matte varnish, so let's take it back inside and get the airbrush out one more time. I was not liking the way that looked, so I went in with some Vallejo matte varnish and the airbrush, and I just sprayed the whole thing over and dulled that sheen down a bit. Handcrafted terrain like this building here has been filling out Games Workshop tables and local gaming store tables for years. They were always cool with this type of terrain, so I'm thinking, why not be cool with this type of terrain? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Do you think they would be cool with this, or do you think that they're going to kind of kick this to the curb too? Don't forget to hit subscribe and check out some other videos on my channel.